Hey everyone, welcome. We are going to go into a little low back series today, a little movement to stretch and release and open up that lower back if you're feeling tight, stuck, or you just need a little motion in your lower spine. So let's get started. We're going to go down onto the mat, nice and smooth, coming down. You're going to go ahead and have your head down, the back of your skull, the base of your skull weighted, and then just take a minute to kind of situate into your neutral spine. So we're talking full feet imprint into the floor. We're talking the legs in a nice good parallel position. Pelvis is weighted, ribs are softened down, and then the base of the skull is down on your mat. Go ahead and let your arms lay long down by your side. Shoulders are just drifting away from your ears. We're going to take 3 breaths to begin here. So a nice deep inhale through the back and side of the rib cage. And an exhale. Yes, letting all that air out. A nice deep inhale through the nose, facilitating good clean breath coming in. And then a nice exhale. Letting that air out one more time. Nice deep inhale here. And deep exhale. Good. All right, to begin with, we're going to add that breath and layer it on top of a pelvic tilt. So we're going to take the pelvis, taking an inhale to prepare. On an exhale, you're going to draw the deeper abdominal muscles in, a little belly. And then you're going to round your lower spine into the floor. So I'm tipping my pelvis, I'm curling my tail up towards the sky. And then I'm going to inhale and I'm going to reach it the opposite direction, kind of driving my tailbone down into the mat. You're going to exhale, draw your abdominals in and curl. And inhale, lengthen the pelvis, tipping that tailbone down to the floor and long. Good, exhaling. So you're trying to really move the pelvis from the core, from the abdominals, instead of squeezing your buns or using your legs too much. So if you feel your butt kind of squeeze, you want to soften that up a little bit and make sure that you're really just trying to use the core. And then an inhale, we reverse it, we lengthen, tailbone goes down. Let's do about 4 more. We're going to exhale, scoop and draw the abdominals in. And inhale, increasing the arch in the lower spine and taking the tailbone down. And exhale, draw the abdominals in and round through the lower back. And inhale, lengthen the spine, reaching the tail into the mat and increasing the space underneath your lower back. 3 more, exhale. And inhale, release. And exhale. And inhale, release. And 1 more, exhale. And inhale, release. Good. All right, let's go back to a neutral pelvis, just right in the middle of both curling and releasing. And now we're going to take our pelvis and we're going to go right to left. So as if you had a bowl of water on top of your pelvis, you're going to pour the water out on the right side of the mat. So my right hip goes down and my left hip is coming up. And then I'm going to inhale through center and reverse it, taking the left hip down and taking the right hip up. Or I should say moving it to the other side. We're not really reversing. We're just going to the other side. So you're going to take the right hip down, the left hip comes up. Inhale smoothly through the center and rock it. So we're rocking that pelvis right and left. Again, you're really not trying to use a whole lot of glute or a whole lot of leg. My legs are still in parallel, so those aren't moving. And my ribs are really staying pretty stationary. So it's just my pelvis trying to get this motion, trying to unlock the lower spine to the pelvis, get some range of motion there. Good, let's do 4. Inhaling through center, exhaling, pressing the right hip up. Inhaling through center, pressing the left hip up. Inhaling through center and reach. So right hip up, left hip down. And moving through center, right hip down, left hip up. Good. 2 more times. Rock it through. And pressing the left hip down, the right hip is up. You can use your legs a little bit here, it's okay. And rocking through center, and left hip up, right hip down. And one more time, rocking through center, left hip up, right hip, left hip down, sorry, right hip up. There we go. All right, let's bring it back to center. All right, now we're gonna take the pelvis and we're gonna circle it around. So really all these are trying to get a range of motion, a separation between pelvis and spine. We're trying to get that low back some range of motion. So we're gonna curl the pelvis back into that tucked position, easy glutes, and then we're gonna tip the pelvis to the right. We're gonna move it down where the tailbone digs into the mat, and then we're gonna take it over to the left. So you're gonna kind of press the left hip down and the right hip goes up. And then I'm gonna whirl around and go into that tuck again. So we're really just sort of circling the outside or tracing the outside of the sacrum. Or you can think about it like a clock. 12 o'clock is when you're in your tuck, the lower back is pressed. Then you go over to 3 o'clock, you push down in the 3. Then you push down on your 6 o'clock. Your number 6 is where the tail touches. And then you press down in your number 9. And you just go around the clock. So you're tapping down onto all those points. 12, 3, 6, and 9. And also trying to get all those sections in between too, right? So again, my legs are pretty stationary and soft, and my ribs are the same. So the only thing I'm really trying to move is my pelvis, is my big bony structure right there on top of my legs and below my ribs. All right, let's reverse it. So we're gonna take it over to 9 o'clock. We're gonna go down to 6, over to 3, and back to 12. So rolling and rocking. It feels so good. This is awesome. If your back is tight, you can just do this simple little situation in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, whenever you feel like you have a lot of low back tightness. Really encourage you to be paying special attention to making sure that the pelvis is really just the thing that's moving and not your ribs and not your legs. And the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. Let's do one more. And then when we're back to 12 o'clock, let's pause and go ahead and just let that pelvis go back into neutral. Great. All right, now we're gonna take it and we're gonna move a little bigger now. I'm gonna move my feet closer to my body and my legs are still parallel. I'm gonna take a deep breath in, arms are down by your side. You're gonna exhale, scoop your abdominals. We're gonna go into some bridging. So you're gonna roll your pelvis. You're gonna push your lower spine towards the floor. And by push, I mean kind of like press and peel the tail off. And then you're gonna continue to peel one vertebra at a time off the floor until you feel like you're high up in the air with your pelvis, but your rib cage is going down towards the floor. So a little different than yoga, in that yoga goes into more of a wheel or an arched position, and we're kind of honing into a nice flat line. I'm gonna take a breath at the top and go ahead and exhale and curl down. You're trying to bring down one backbone at a time, moving smoothly through the spine until you reach the bottom and your tailbone reconnects to your mat. We'll repeat that. Take an exhale, draw the abdominals in and peel one vertebra at a time off the floor, raising the hips up in the air, feet are grounded. Take a nice deep breath in and exhale. Let that air come out and round it all the way down. Good, you guys. All right, let's try 2 more. Inhaling to prepare. Exhale, draw abdominals in. That scoops and presses the low back. We peel everything off. And then pause up at the top. feet are grounded right where your butt meets your legs, okay? That little crease underneath, that's the point where you really want to feel that pressing up towards the sky, right? And then the ribs are coming down. That's going to give your glute and your legs a lot of work. And then exhale, come on down. So when you're down, the glutes and the legs aren't really active, but once you lift the pelvis off the floor, definitely we're working that backside. All right, let's take one more. Take a deep breath in. Go ahead and exhale. Scoop the abdominals, rounding, peeling one vertebra at a time off the floor and sending those hips up towards the air. Now from here, we're gonna do a little dip. So you're gonna take your right hip and dip it down and press. Other side. Left hip drops and press. Right hip drops and press. Left hip nice and smooth and press. Couple more times, right? You're gonna feel those legs working. Yes, and lower the left and rise. One more set. Let's take the right side down. We're practicing that little hip dip in the bridge. Good, and pause right there. All right, let's take it down one vertebra at a time. Ooh, feeling those legs burning. Coming down nice and smooth. And resting the pelvis. All right, let's just take the legs long down on our mat. You can just let the legs kind of flop in and out, open and closed to soften the hamstrings. Ooh, and take a couple breaths. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and just let that come a little to a slower pace, and then we're gonna let it kind of just be. From here, we're gonna go ahead and drag the legs back into a bent knee position, and I'm gonna pull my right knee into my chest now. I'm gonna lengthen my left leg back down on my mat and flex my foot. So we're gonna do a little low back stretch here. That's a little work to get the muscles kind of plumped up, and now we're gonna stretch with some support. So my right knee is in, this bottom leg, this bottom foot is definitely flexed, but this top one can be soft. It doesn't have to point or flex. You can just kind of let it hang. And you're drawing it in kind of close to your armpit, your right armpit. And we're really reaching the other side long. So like a bow and arrow, you're pulling your arrow back and you're reaching the other arm, the front of that bow away from you. Let's take 2 breaths here. Good, one more. Awesome. And now we're going to take the left hand over the right outside of the knee. We put this right hand down and we cross it over. So we get to relax that bottom foot now, that left leg long, and just let the knee cross over the body. Your back is going to come off the floor. Your pelvis is going to come off the floor. You can keep this hand on top of the leg for a little added weight or just out to your side. And then think about taking, if your lungs were not in your back, but yet down in your low spine, where your pelvis is. Every time you take a breath in, you're gonna imagine that space really increasing. And then as you exhale, you're just letting it decrease and narrow. So we're gonna take a breath in through our low lungs. We're gonna breathe in and release. We're going to breathe in and release. Nice. Try one more time. Nice big breath in, kind of expanding that lower spine, that pelvis. And release. Good. Using a little bit of abdominals to draw your leg back to center. You're going to interlace your hands behind the back of your thigh. Reach that bottom leg again long and extend that leg towards the ceiling. So what I'm doing is a little hamstring stretch now, which is great for your lower back. It really helps to open up your low spine and let it go. The low back and the hamstrings are directly related in terms of if one is pulling, the other is going to be pulled. And generally, hamstrings are really tight, and so they pull that lower back under and cause even more tightness in our lower back. I encourage you to press your back of your leg into your hands. My arms are really straight and I'm pushing into my hand. I'm not trying to pull my leg closer to me. I'm really pushing away, and my emphasis is on a stretch, a straightening in the leg that's reaching up instead of a pull. I'm going to try to drop my hip down into the floor, and then I'm going to try to reach my heel up towards the ceiling. So I'm going for micro stretches inside and length through that back and hamstring. All right, let's take 2 breaths here. Nice big breath in and exhale. And an inhale and an exhale. Great. Let this knee bend, just let it soften down, give it a little wiggle here, and then go ahead and let that leg release down. Let's take the other side. So bringing that left leg in, we're gonna really reach out with our right side now. So flex that foot down nice and strong. Pull this left knee in toward your armpit as much as you can. And again, bow and arrow. So I'm pulling my arrow back and I'm reaching the front of the bow forward. So I feel a nice good stretch through my groin and through the front of my legs here. And then we'll take 2 breaths. Inhale and exhale. And inhale. Try in through the nose, inhaling. And exhale through the mouth. Good. All right, let's take it across the body. So we're taking the right hand across the left outside of the leg. We're letting everything cross our midline to fall over. I'm going to take this back arm and reach it, and this top hand is just going to stay gently onto this leg. Now my foot can be on the other leg, or we can move it onto the floor and just let that leg stay there. Now my knee is not touching the floor. Okay, yours can, it doesn't have to though. What you're going for is sensation. You're going for how it feels in your lower back. Do you feel a stretch there? That's what you're going for. Whether your leg is low or high, that doesn't matter. All right, let's take 3 breaths here and get that idea again of the lungs moving low in your back. So we're at lower back and pelvis. We're trying to get some space in there. Here we go, nice deep breath in and out. And in and out. One more. Fill that lower back up with air. And out. Awesome. Using the core gently to fold and bring that leg back through center. We're going to go ahead and bring it back into our chest for a moment, reaching that long leg down, flexing the foot. Interlace the hands, place them behind your thighs, and go ahead and stretch that leg up towards the ceiling. Oh my gosh, hamstrings, right? If your knee is slightly bent here because your hamstrings are really tight, it's fine, no worries. You're going for pressing the back of the thigh into your hands and then working that stretch from there. So you're working to get that heel, that lower leg as straight as the bottom leg, okay? No pulling to you, we're actually pushing away. We're dropping that left hip down towards the floor, and we're trying to reach that left heel, that energy up towards the sky. So micro adjustments inside the leg to really feel an amazing stretch here without pull on our lower back. So we're leaving our lower backs nice and quiet and safe. Let's take 2 big breaths. Nice inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And go ahead and bend that knee gently. Let it just dangle, bounce it a little bit, easy, easy, good. And then go ahead and bring it down. Let's bend the other knee, and we're gonna work the lower spine a little bit more here. So I'm gonna bring both of my knees into my chest. I'm gonna rock side to side on my lower spine, on my sacrum. And then from here, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get a little hip stretch, a little more kind of integration into that lower back. So I'm gonna put one foot down my left foot. I'm gonna cross my ankle over my left knee. So right ankle over left knee. Now for some of us, we already feel stretch in our hip. You should be feeling some stretch in your right hip. And if you're already feeling stretch, you're there, you're good. Stay and breathe. Try to release tension through the jaw and the throat. And if you need a little more, if we need to bump it up a notch, we're gonna go ahead and weave our hands back through underneath our left thigh, underneath that hamstring, and we're gonna stay here. I want to encourage that right knee to press away as I pull the left leg in, and now we're gonna give alignment a little more focus in that both halves of your pelvis should be fairly equally weighted into your mat, and that both sides of your waist should be long. When we go into this stretch, a lot of times we scrunch up on one side, and I want you to see if you can keep a really long, lengthened waist. Let's take 2 breaths here, whatever level you're at. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling. And one more. And exhaling. Good. Go ahead and let that leg down if it's not, and we're just gonna switch sides. Right leg down, we're gonna cross the left ankle over that right knee. Again, if you're already feeling stretch in your other hip now, you're good. If you wanna bump it up a notch, we're gonna fold the legs into our body. We're gonna go ahead and interlace the hands behind the right thigh. Give that left leg a little press out. And remember, we're trying to be equally weighted through the pelvis. Our tailbone is actually going towards the floor, down instead of rounding. Both sides of the waist are long. 2 breaths. Nice inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Nice. All right, go ahead and undo, let the leg go down, undo those legs from there. You can turn onto your side, bring yourself up. We're just gonna do one final little pose here to let that low back get a little bit more length. So I'm gonna take a squat position. And for some of us, this might not feel great, okay? So I'll give you a couple variations on this stretch if you need it. I'm gonna work my way into this squat with my feet wide. My tailbone needs to be hanging directly down in between my legs, yeah? And I'm gonna feel my sit bones also down between my heels. And I'm gonna take my hand to my heart center. I'm gonna lift up through my spine nice and tall. I'm gonna use my arms to kind of press my inner thighs out. And I'm gonna drop down in this squat here, okay? And now what we're doing is we're really getting a nice release of the whole spine from head to tail all the way down. So we have somewhere for it to hang. When we sit all day, which some of us do, I do a lot of sitting, even editing and working at the computer too, along with exercising. You want to feel this hang, okay? When we sit, it presses that sacrum and that tailbone up, and it kind of jams up our spine. So this is so nice to feel an opposition of just a hang. We're going to be here for a couple breaths. If you're here, stay and breathe. And if you want a modification for this variation, we can come on down, and we're going to have the heels, the feet together, the knees apart, and we're gonna sit here. You can also put a blanket, a towel, yoga blocks between the leg here to bump you up a little higher if the knees are not comfortable bending this far also. But what you're trying to create is a really nice nice valley for your tail, your sacrum, and your spine to hang down into, all right? So that's your variation for that. So wherever you are, let's all take 2 big, nice breaths together. I'm going to go back into the lunge here. All right, you're welcome to close your eyes, a nice softening of the eyes. And let's breathe, inhaling and exhaling. Yeah, feeling that long length. And one more time, nice big breath in and nice big breath out. Good. All right, you guys, go ahead, hands down. Let's wiggle out of that position, coming down onto our booty for just a moment. All right, let's go ahead and reach our arms out to the side. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale, bring those hands back down to your heart center. Yes, and thank you so much for joining me. I hope that low back feels nice and mobile, and I'll see you again soon.